Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing very, very well today. Welcome to the Inspired Christmas special. We are a little bit early this year. Naturally, Christmas is still like, 2 weeks away? A bit less than 2 weeks away. Anyway, when we would normally go live with Inspired, which is the final Wednesday of the month, I'm in the process of moving house. So I probably will be decorating or doing something very un-Christmassy. But alas, I'm not going to be working. So we brought Inspired forward for December. So we have the Christmas bonanza, so to speak, today on the 14th. I'm really thrilled to present this to you today, guys, and I really hope you enjoy it. I'm going to give a little bit of time for people to jump into the feed. I know sometimes there can be a little bit of a lag. So yes, I will show you. Got the antlers on, obviously, and you probably can't see it fully there. It's a bear, right? Santa Claus. So, hold tight M&S for the very strong puns. I do also have somewhere in the archives, I've got like a jumper that's like Santa, but like doing yoga. But like it doesn't fit me anymore, so I must have got fatter. But we moved. So M&S came through with Santa Claus, which I quite like him actually, and he's like flocked, which is kind of nice. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing very, very well today. I have a fantastic episode for you today, as always. This is obviously December's episode, so it is the final Inspired of 2022. Firstly, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has watched any episode of Inspired this year. And moreover, to anyone who has been featured. I really love doing this. I'm into my second year of doing this now. It started during lockdown, to be honest. So I've been doing it now, for coming up for or just over 2 years. And obviously in 2022, the format has changed. So now we've moved to this kind of live format, which I really like. I'm really enjoying kind of just talking to you guys organically and just spitballing, and it's not scripted, as you can probably tell. So just having those conversations with you guys and showcasing great LinkedIn content. So thank you to everyone who has tuned in and to everyone who has contributed. And we're going to go out with a bang. So, let me do my thing and let me share my screen with you. Oh, that was relatively swift for me. I did that pretty well. I must be getting used to this thing. So anyway, yes, there is me with my Santa hat. Massive thank you, Canva, and also some Crimbo lights, because you need some festivity, don't you? You need some festivity in your life. So let me have a sip of my tea. I can confirm it's tea. It's not mulled wine. It's, I don't know, maybe afterwards. Right. Firstly, right, it's Christmas, yeah. So you've got to have a few puns, right? It wouldn't be Christmas without some really, really trashy puns. So, first pun. Come on, that's pretty good, right? If you're a watcher of Inspired, I say, let's jump into this one. And that's my kind of like catchphrase, yeah? Let's step into this one. Elton John. Pretty good, right? I mean, clearly not. Also, I can't use his music, right? Copyright reasons. So, step into Christmas, get yourself together, people around. I'll stop now. So, first post of the Christmas special of Inspired is a fantastic piece of advice from Lara Acosta. I discovered Lara's content this year. And since I've discovered her profile and her posts, she's quickly become one of my favorite creators on LinkedIn. I really like her style and her attitude, and I think that really comes across in her content. But also, she just provides really helpful and good advice. And I think this is a great example. There's a lot of posts in the ether of LinkedIn that are very I don't want to say like they're braggish, but they kind of are, right? Like, hey, I'm hit 6 figures trading this random cryptocurrency, or hey, like my business has grown by 35% and now I've adopted a whole new faculty and blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of like showing off. But actually, what Lara has done here is she's spoken about how she's gained following, and naturally she's gained following because her content is fantastic. But she's actually given a really good step-by-step guide as to how she's done it, which I like. Rather than just telling everyone about how brilliant you are and how wonderful everything is, actually give people some tangible information that they can use to make better decisions and grow their LinkedIn presence or do what they want to do. And for me here, she's kind of created this framework, and I really want to draw your attention to the first point. So the first point here says audit your favorite creators. Focus on their hook, their frameworks, and their calls to actions. Now, what she means by this is use the people who you enjoy consuming as a kind of benchmark for how you should be constructing your content. Because it's all well and good following content matrices or listening to every LinkedIn expert on the planet, but if there are people that you genuinely enjoy consuming, and the chances are they're going to be relevant to you or relevant to your customers, and therefore there's going to be that overlap between who's a consumer and who's relevant to your audiences, you can start using that as really good infrastructure. That's a really good starting point, right? If they're doing it and it's reaping results, there's probably a reason. The next point, she talks about ultimately researching the kind of the threads and the topics, right? So when you're actually thinking about how you sculpt a piece of content, use the inspiration for people you like to consume and then kind of follow a process where you inject your story and your technique. And she kind of furthers this with the final point, where she says, add your personality, your USP. And as soon as I saw this post, I just hit straight out to Lara and I said, I love that. I think that's such a good explanation. Your USP. And if you think about content on social media in particular, not just LinkedIn, right? But social media content, most of the time, the great content creators, the information they tell people becomes secondary. What's the primary thing is the person. It's their personality, it's their humor, it's their wit, it's their way of talking and communicating. It's how they make you feel part of their network. For many years, I'm showing my age now, but for many years, I've always used Zoella as a great example of this. Zoella's foundation came predominantly from talking about high street fashion and high street makeup brands, or accessible makeup brands, right? But ultimately, people started watching her because they thought, wow, this girl's really cool. I like her. I like her personality. I like the way she talks to me. I like the fact that I feel seen when I watch her videos. And actually, over time, the kind of content breadth of that creator has changed drastically because of that, because of how people consume that information. And she becomes the focal point of the video rather than the subject matter. And that's the same thing with your LinkedIn presence. You should become the kind of the entity, the main reason why people connect. What you talk about is wonderful, but you are the reason why they hang around. I think this is a really, really nice structure to follow, and I think it's something you can carry into the new year. So thank you, Lara. I think this is a great bit of advice. Let's jump into the next post. So the next post is a very, very different vibe. So Taz, he's someone who I've come across fairly recently, right? And his kind of vibe is he names himself as LinkedIn's Robin Hood. And I think that's a very apt description. I really like Taz's content. It's very kind of it'll call people out. It's very to the point. But he also provides a great deal of insight around very specific things to LinkedIn. And this post here is talking about dry December. Now, people will know, I've already commented on it on previous inSPIRED, that at the moment, LinkedIn reach is not as good as it has been. Post performance is down for practically everyone. And certain content types are performing worse than others. In December, this intensifies, okay? This gets worse in December. And one of the main reasons is because naturally social media reach dips during December. And it's kind of strange, really, because if you think about it, a lot of people spend their kind of extra time they may have in December looking at social media. But actual kind of post performance goes down because the quantity of recurring visitation goes down. And if you think about LinkedIn, yes, the platform has evolved immensely, right? But people still predominantly use it in a B2B setting. So when they clock off from work, there's going to be a percentage of people who are not on the platform during the kind of the latter weeks of December. And naturally, LinkedIn know this. They're aware of these kind of user activity and trends. And this is why they're rolling out a lot of new features at the moment. There's a lot of testing going on. We spoke last month about the scheduling feature. There's more stuff that's being put into the threshold to kind of position us into 2023. And when they try new features, that means bugs. That means glitches. That means changes in performance. That means changes in activity. So the point of this is basically to just accept that this is kind of a necessary evil of creating on this platform. It is frustrating. It is annoying. But if you understand it and see it as something that is pretty much outside of your control, it shouldn't derail your strategy and your plans. Just be mindful of it, kind of accept it, and maybe even use it as an excuse for you to experiment. If there's something that you've really wanted to try or something that you want to A/B test before we go into 2023, try it in December. Give it a go. Like, why not? Like, you kind of have nothing to lose, right? Position yourself best as possible to go into 2023 like an absolute bulldozer and just crush it. So this is the time to try and test. And equally, it's going to be the time where you might see dips and like kind of changes in activity. And if you just embrace it and understand it, you will be all good. So I think this is a really good bit of advice. And I think it's going to answer some questions and queries people have had around, like, why is my post performing so poorly? Or why is my audience not as engaged? Or why is my engagement rate down and my impressions down? Or rah, rah, rah. So I think this just kind of adds that extra kind of context and validity to that. Next up, again, it's very different. It's a very eclectic mix this month, Chris. So the third post today is from Sophie Gordon. And this is something that actually it's not like 100% explicit to LinkedIn. But I feel like it's something that's very important. And you've probably kind of sensed a bit of a trend with the posts that I've picked this month, in that a lot of them are kind of that, I guess, a little bit like reflective, right? You kind of get to the end of the year, you start thinking about the things that you've done and the things that you want to do going forward, and having that kind of hindsight and that mindset, right? And this is something that Sophie really wonderfully explains in this post. And she talks about the importance of having a much more kind of like curated and decluttered feed. And this is something that I've posted about personally. It's something that I do regularly on Instagram. Pretty much every single month, I decrease my Instagram usage and my barriers to Instagram. And the importance of doing this is because you need to have an actual understanding of the time that you are spending and committing on social media services. And LinkedIn is a social media service. And if you then think about the quantity of time you spend, and then you kind of add that up over, like, I don't know, a week or a month or whatever, it's not just the time that you're investing on it, but it's the amount of information that you are being pummeled with. Like right now, I am pummeling you with information. I can only apologize for that. But like fundamentally, like, there's only so much you can actually absorb and take in, right? And there's only so much of that stuff that you want to take in and absorb that may be even relevant to you. The chances are there is stuff in your feeds, not just on LinkedIn, but on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on God knows what, that is taking away time and agency from you that you don't even need there. You don't even want it there. So spend some time in December and kind of during the Christmas period or whatever to maybe kind of like, audit your social and have a little look at kind of, why am I following that page? I think it's easier to do it on things like Instagram and Facebook and the more, I guess, B2C kind of like inherently B2C platforms, because a lot of us, myself included, follow brands. We follow branded pages for companies that we might buy their products, or they might advertise a prize. You might be like, oh, like follow our page and tag a friend and you'll win a 15-night stay at an igloo in Iceland or whatever it might be. Like, chances are you're going to be following a boatload of branded pages that literally mean nothing to you. So just get rid of them. Just get rid of them. And similarly, you might be following creators who actually are doing more harm than good. We always say that kind of comparison is the thief of joy. And maybe you're following creators and people, like personalities who are not helpful for you. So have a little bit of a kind of a reflection on your social media usage, not just LinkedIn, but wider, who you're following, why you're following them, and have a bit of a declutter. It makes you feel good. It means you can kind of like make your feed happier. and kind of enhance your experience and your usage. And I think it will give you a strong foundation into the new year, because you're going to go into 2023 with a better understanding of not just who you're following and who you're interacting with, but why. And that's the really important thing. Why? What is the point of it? What's the benefit of it? So by having that understanding and that hindsight, I think you can make better decisions with who you connect and how you grow your networks going forward. So that's that. Sorry, I got a bit impassioned about it, didn't I? Thank you, Sophie. Excellent bit of advice. It's something that I've hammered home to people for a long time now, to be honest, and something I believe in quite strongly. So I'm really pleased to see someone else kind of, harping that message onwards as well. Okay, on to our fourth post. And this is a really good bit of advice from my main man, Roman Pikolenko. I really loved this, and I think this is something, again, that is really tangible and that you can start doing now so you're ready for the new year. So he talks about a 4-step process for kind of how to actually add like hyper relevant people into your network, right? So the link to the post will go into the chat, so check it out once the stream is over. But the carousel that Roman has created kind of highlights the process of how you connect, how you build that journey. And naturally, there are some slides on there around how you should talk to people and like how to send a personalized message and a lot of the things that you probably already know. But this bit here, you may not know. And I think this is really, really, really important. The LinkedIn search bar is massively underutilized by like a sizable percentage of people, myself included to an extent. And one of the best things you can do with it is you can actually search via a specific discipline. So in his example here, you can see from the graphic, he searched for social media marketing. And then by doing that, the next option comes up and you can start sorting and you can get a little bit more granular with who you're looking for and why. So you can sort by people and then say second degree connections. If you don't know what a second degree connection is, the best way of looking at it as it's a friend of a friend. So a first degree connection would be someone you work with. That would be a first degree connection. They're your friend. And then that person might be friends with someone from another company, and they would therefore be a friend of a friend. So the second degree connection target is really the one you want to kind of capitalize on, because you always have that benefit of kind of being recommended by certain people, or I know certain person, and it kind of gives you that in, and it kind of makes that transition more organic as to why you would want to reach out to them. Anyway, once you've done that, you can then go into all filters and you can pick an authority person. And this is brilliant, because what you can do is you can actually look at followers of specific people that you want to target. So it could be you're looking at sizing up your competition. And there could be someone who is you, but for another set of audiences, and you want to be like, I want to take some of their following. So I'm going to search for the followers of them, and I'm going to start connecting with those people. It could also be that you're trying to, be more organic, and you're trying to grow your community, and you can use that leverage of, I really love insert X's posts. I know you do too. I thought it'd be fantastic if we could connect and share ideas and share knowledge. There's a plethora of ways you can do this. You can connect with people that are relevant to the people you care about, and you can actually be strategic about it. And I think this is a very good tool, and something that I'm certainly going to start using more. And I think something that for the new year is going to be very helpful, because we know that kind of the organic posting is massively prioritized, that people are using LinkedIn fundamentally for community. They're not using it solely for kind of recruitment or advertising. They're using it for those organic, meaningful conversations and connections with like-minded people. And you can use this as the perfect kind of epicenter of all of that. So I think this is a really great bit of advice. Thank you to Roman for shining some light on it. And let's move on to our fifth post. Bear with me. Let me just have a slug of my probably very, very, very cold tea now. Yeah, it's tepid. It's tepid. So our fifth post today is something that I thought, as soon as I saw it, I was like, aha, yes. This is inspired content. I love it when that happens. And it's from a newbie. It's from Jake Ward. And Jake's content is great. His focus is predominantly blogs. And he talks around how to kind of really utilize blogs, monetize blogs, maximize the visitation to your website through blogs. And there is a little bit of this kind of vibe that blogs and kind of like articles or whatever are maybe becoming a little bit old hack, and that people don't want to read and things like that, which, you know, I do agree with to an extent, but blogs are a massive part of your armory. And the chances are that most people and most businesses have them to some degree. What I love about this is the fact that he's created a content repurposing strategy. And we talk about repurposing a lot on inSPIRED. I'm actually going to mention it again in a minute. And it's a really important skill. Repurposing is a skill. If you can repurpose well, you can maximize like the longevity of your content and like the visibility of your content, you are doing far better than many people. And I love this. He says, firstly, write a long form blog post. So pick a topic, pick a subject matter, whatever it is, invest the time in creating that resource and that asset first. Because by having that principal asset, you can then turn it into other things. So he says, into a newsletter email, and then condense it into a Twitter thread, for example. Screenshot images and use it in a LinkedIn carousel. Write 3+ posts in other formats based on the subject matter. And then there are so many ways he can do this. And he says here, like, stagger the publishing over 4 to 8 weeks, revisit and repurpose after 3+ months. So he's got a really kind of like strong linear strategy, right? Of how he's going to use potentially one piece of information and make the thick end of a quarter's worth of content from it. That's massive. Like, that's a really, 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 really good idea. And, you know, we're all busy people. We want to maximize the value of what we create. We want to maximize the benefit of when we create it. I think this is a really good way to go. It doesn't have to necessarily be a blog. You could maybe do a video, or it could be a podcast, or a webinar, or a Q&A session, or whatever the hero piece of content is completely up to you. But I think looking at this as kind of like a step-by-step guide of how do I repurpose it is a really great thing. It's all well and good saying, hey man, just repurpose your content. But what does that mean? This is what it means. This is a great, great example. And I'm certainly going to be using this. And I think every good creator should as well. I think it's a really, really strong suggestion and structure for how you can maximize what you invest your time in. So thank you to Jake. I love this. I think it's a great, great example and a wonderful way to finish off today's 5 posts, because you probably can't hear my drum roll because I've got headphones in, and I'm just like smacking a table. I don't have a post of the month this month because it's Christmas. So you might be like, why? So instead, I decided to give you some kind of festive tips. And I've got 3 tips that I think are going to help you guys kind of bridge that period between kind of winding down and restarting in 2023. And as we've already kind of established, December is a bit of a funny month. So these hopefully will give you a little bit of kind of insight and suggestions as to kind of what to do or how to navigate the next couple of weeks where things do kind of change slightly. So firstly, tip number 1, don't waste posts. Now, I use waste in inverted commas because this is slightly subjective, right? But what I mean by don't waste posts is that if you have something that is very important or very particular that you need to get out with your audience, maybe you're launching a campaign, maybe you're running a new promotion, maybe you've got a new product coming out or something like that, you don't want to be utilizing your best material at a time when the engagement is lower, when LinkedIn is going through that slightly transitional stage as we move into 2023, and ultimately where there's going to be fewer people ready there to consume and engage. Simultaneously, when you're looking to kind of maximize user engagement or interaction from your posts, maybe you want them to visit a landing page, to download a resource, or book a meeting with you, or whatever your CTA might be, there's no point doing that if there's no one there to actually fulfill that CTA. So just be a little bit kind of tactful with what you actually post over the next few weeks. Some people will go full shutdown mode and they'll probably do a post and say, look, I'm not posting now until insert date here. And that's absolutely fine. Other people will continue posting throughout Christmas, maybe at the same degree, maybe at a slightly lesser degree. But the common theme that you will see is probably the majority of that content is not going to be quote unquote premium posting. It's not going to be stuff where they really need to see some kind of result or kind of benefit for creating it, because you need to utilize the time when people are accessing LinkedIn and are using the platform for longer to actually maximize the potential for you getting what you want out of it. So my advice would be to kind of reserve those posts and utilize them in the first few months of the new year when people are kind of back. It's fresh, it's active. We're heading into a new financial year at the end of March, early April. There's a lot more opportunity for you to capitalize on that in the kind of the beginning of 2023 than there is right now. And this kind of lends into the second tip, which is kind of a really great extension of what Jake said, but it's kind of reusing your top performers. So people don't like to reuse some of their previous posts because they feel like, oh, well, people have already seen it. But we've already established how much time people spend on social media, and we've already established how much information they absorb and how much they're kind of, pummeled with, really. So without being rude, the likelihood of them remembering it is fairly slim. And you can always repackage it. So if you made an image post before and it performed well, change it into a carousel. Or if you had a carousel post that worked really well before, turn it into a short video. You can use the kind of the skeleton of the story that you've already pitched in the past and repurpose it in a different format or in a different delivery method to keep your kind of profile up and running and ticking over and providing great value, but not to massive kind of time or expense to yourself. And my last tip is actually to embrace this time of year. Now, I know this kind of comes easier said than done. And this year in particular is a very, very complicated year. We've had, 3 pretty tetchy Christmases, haven't we? With COVID, of which you can probably tell I sound a bit funny. I've literally just had a really bad bout of COVID. But obviously we've got kind of everything that's going on economically. Like, it's a very stressful and trying time for people. And I can completely understand why there are some people this year who are very kind of un-Christmassy. However, when I say embrace the season, what I mean is embrace December. So embrace the fact that this is going to be a bit of a testing month, that your activity is going to be lower, that maybe your increase in follower numbers might be lower than normal or whatever. And also, if you like Christmas, have a bit of fun with it. There's nothing wrong with maybe changing your profile image to something more Christmassy, or maybe updating your banner and putting some different like logos or artwork in it, and just kind of giving that little bit of kind of festive personality. Someone who does this wonderfully is a creator who I've featured on Inspired a few times called Gillian Whitney. And Gillian is pretty much entirely video based. But what she does is she creates kind of seasonal cover videos. So she creates a cover video for Christmas or for Hanukkah. I believe she's also done one for Halloween. And she kind of capitalizes upon those kind of seasonal trends and uses them to put her spin on them and inject them into her LinkedIn profile. And I really like that. I think that's a really nice thing to do. So if you find yourself with a spare hour or so and you want to maybe kind of make your LinkedIn profile feel a little bit more topical and current, that's a good suggestion. Updating your profile image, updating your profile video, whatever it might be. So I think this is something that's really good. I think it shows that you have your finger on the pulse. I think it shows that you are actually around and you're active and you're not just scheduling and walking away from LinkedIn. You have a presence. And I love Christmas. I love Christmas. So, I'm biased, but I think it's a nice way to kind of, see off the year and have your little bit of sparkle and flair on your LinkedIn profile and activity. So here's a little recap of our wonderful creators for the final episode of Inspired for 2022. So a massive, massive thank you to them. And as I've already mentioned, a massive thank you to everybody who has watched, contributed, commented, questioned, anything to do with Inspired this year. As I said, this is the year that we kind of went live, and I really love it. I really love the live format. I'd like to say a big shout out to the Finally team for being really helpful and supportive. Millie's been amazing at kind of helping me get this on this new format and this new process, helping with getting people to submit questions and kind of putting the links in the chat, which you can see now. I feel like we've made Inspired like a much more interactive, and I love that. So thank you to everyone who is involved and to everyone who has contributed or been featured. It really does mean a great deal to me. So before I run away for Christmas, I mean, my Christmas holiday is not next week, but till I run away from Inspired. I'm only joking. If anybody has any questions about anything that has been featured today, please fire them my way. Simultaneously, if you have any kind of questions about LinkedIn in general, maybe things you're looking forward to in the new year or anything like that, bang them in the chat. I'd love to answer and love to have that conversation with you. So I'll give a few moments for this to catch up. The system that I use sometimes has a little bit of a delay to get the comments through onto my streaming service. So I will sit quietly and slurp my now very untepid tea. It's now stone cold, but alas, I'm thirsty, so we move. But anyway, I tell you what, I'm going to put this on my LinkedIn profile later this week. But I always know when it's Christmas, right? Because you get the big radio times. The big radio times and the double issue of the radio times is like, oh god, the memories of that thing, man. I absolutely love it. I got it yesterday and I was just like, it's Christmas. Probably won't watch anything, to be honest. I'll like go through it and like circle off everything that I'm like, oh yeah, we could watch that. I would catch up on that and then probably watch like 2 things. But I'm currently in the transition of, as well as recovering from COVID, moving house. So yeah, my Christmas is going to be, I think, pretty manic, but I'm looking forward to it. So yes, lots of furniture putting up and moving things at this precise moment. I have a 3-seater sofa in my dad's 3rd bedroom, which has been there for about 18 months. So they've not been able to use that room for quite a long time. So I'm going to free that settee this weekend on Saturday, as well as moving various other paraphernalia around. And yeah, hopefully after the Christmas holiday, I'll have a more homely home than I currently do at the moment. So that'll be nice. But anyway, that's less about me. Please do let me know what you guys are getting up to over Christmas. Obviously, I'm still around on LinkedIn, so just bang me a message, a DM. And as I've mentioned before, in 2023, we're mixing up a little bit, and we're bringing some new stuff to Inspired. We're going to have some Inspired webinars, which are going to be kind of like long form conversation with a creator. I'm really excited for those. So the first one for them will be coming to you very, very soon. And yeah, it's going to be a great year. And as I've said in the past, but I'm probably just going to reiterate, if you have any feedback, any kind of like suggestions on Inspired, like let me know. Like I'm all ears. If you've got kind of any feedback or suggestions or like comments around Inspired, let me know, man. Like, I want to improve as a creator for you guys. I want to make these as good as I possibly can, and any information and insight from you would be wonderful. I'm going to call it there. I'm really sorry if you have banged a comment in and I haven't seen it yet. No, my luck, it'll probably come through the second I say goodbye. But I am going to say goodbye, and I'm going to let you all get back to your lunchtime because I'm conscious of the time. So finally from me, thank you for a wonderful year. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you to the creators who are featured. I will post out the links later on as well. After this stream, we will be creating the event page for January's episode. So we'll get that created and get that out to you very, very soon. And yes, if I don't speak to you before, have a beautiful Christmas. Have a wonderful new year. I hope everything that you want to achieve in 2023 comes to fruition. I'm sure it will. And I will be here along the way to help you with your LinkedIn fun. So look forward to seeing you in January. Have a beautiful day, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.